It's just about 6:30, so I'm going to call to order the Shenandoah County School Board meeting for July 11th, 2024. And I'm going to ask if the superintendent has a recommendation for us.
I do. I recommend the school board of Shenandoah County convene a closed meeting under the Virginia Freedom of Information Act in order to discuss and consider several personnel matters involving the assignment, appointment, promotion, performance, demotion, salary, discipline, or resignation of several employees of the Shenandoah County Public Schools under Virginia Code 2.2-3711A14. I recommend the school board of Shenandoah County convene a closed meeting under Virginia Freedom of Information Act for the purposes of discussing and considering several student matters involving the admission, discipline, or the disclosure of information contained in a scholastic record of students in the Shenandoah County Public Schools under Virginia Code 2.2-3711A2, and to convene a closed meeting under the Virginia Freedom of Information Act for the protection of the privacy of individuals and personal matters not related to public business as stated under Virginia Code 2.2-3711A4, and to convene a closed meeting under the Virginia Freedom of Information Act to have a briefing by staff members or consultants pertaining to actual or probable litigation where such consultation or briefing in open meetings would adversely affect the negotiating or litigating posture of Shenandoah County Public Schools under Virginia Code 2.2-3711A7.
Thank you, Dr. Shepard. Do I have a motion to that effect?
I move that the Shenandoah County School Board convene a closed meeting under the Virginia Freedom of Information Act in order to discuss and consider several personnel matters involving the assignment, appointment, promotion, performance, demotion, salary, discipline, or resignation under Virginia Code 2.2-3711A14, and to convene a closed meeting under the Virginia Freedom of Information Act for the purposes of discussing and considering several student matters involving the admission, discipline, or disclosure of information contained in a scholastic record of students in the Shenandoah County Public Schools under Virginia Code 2.2-3711A2, and for the protection of the privacy of individuals and personal matters not related to public business as stated under Virginia Code 2.2-3711A4, and to have a briefing by staff members or consultants pertaining to actual or probable litigation where such consultation or briefing in an open meeting would adversely affect the negotiating or litigating posture of Shenandoah County Public Schools under Virginia Code 2.2-3711A7.
And is there a second?
I'll second.
Thank you, Mr. Rickard. So the motion has been moved and seconded. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
No opposed, and I'll take this moment to note that one member of the school board is absent this evening. Mrs. Rutz is attending the baby shower for her eldest daughter who's having their first child, so I think we'll give her a pass tonight. So we will now convene in closed session. I'd like to reconvene the July 11th regular school board meeting of the Shenandoah County School Board. Do I have a motion that the board reconvene in open session?
I move to reconvene in open session.
Second.
Thank you. The move has been made and seconded by Mr. Gutschall and by Mr. Street. Any discussion? If so, then all in favor of reconvening in open session, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? No. I'd like to read the following statement. The Shenandoah County School Board hereby certifies by roll call vote that to the best of each member's knowledge, only public business matters lawfully exempted from open meeting requirements by Virginia law were discussed in the closed meeting to which this certification resolution applies. And only such public matters as were identified in the motion convening in the closed meeting were heard, discussed, or considered by the Shenandoah County School Board. Each member responds, "I so certify" when called.
Mr. Street,
I so certify.
Ms. Carlinio,
I so certify.
Mr. Gutschall,
I so certify.
Mr. Ricker,
I so certify.
and Mr. Barlow.
I so certify. If you'd join with me in prayer, let's look to the Lord to open this meeting with us. Father, we come to you and we seek wisdom, we seek truth, we seek righteousness, and we know that you provide those things. We pray that we would be willing to do those things that are the right things, not just the easy things. We pray your blessings on this county and all those who work to educate our children. We pray especially for mercies for our teachers, our staff, our students, parents, and all the stakeholders who care so dearly for these children and want them to be educated in the right way. We pray these things in Jesus' name. Amen. Mm-hmm. Please join me in our pledge to the flag.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Do I have a motion to approve the agenda as it has been presented?
I move to approve the agenda as presented.
Thank you, Mr. Gutschall. Any second?
Second.
Thank you, Mr. Rickard. We have a motion and a second to approve the agenda as it has been presented. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you. Madam Superintendent, do we have any recognitions tonight?
We do not have any recognitions tonight, but we will over the next couple of months because we had quite a few students participating in career technical student organization competitions, and we had quite a few winners.
It's been a lot in the paper, so I expect we'll have a longer meeting next month
Yes.
with the recognitions. That's good. All right, and then we will move into our public comments section. So let me read our the concepts here. So the Shenandoah County School Board welcomes public comment from Shenandoah County residents, parents, or guardians, as well as some current students and employees of Shenandoah County Public Schools. School board members do not respond to public comments during the meeting or hearing. Each speaker may speak up to 3 minutes. The board generally allows up to 30 minutes for public comments on agenda and non-agenda items at the beginning of the meeting. If there are a large number of speakers, the board may limit the total number of comments and/or may reduce the time allotted for each speaker. All comments should address a matter related to Shenandoah County Public Schools. Complaints regarding division employees should be directed to the school principal or an appropriate school division official. The school board expects that each speaker will be courteous, modeling for our students how one can respectfully disagree with others' views. Speakers will address their comments to the entire school board, not to one individual board member, to the superintendent, to a staff member, nor to the audience. Speakers will not engage in personal attacks. Speakers may sign up to speak at the school board meeting or public hearing on the document, which I have in front of me at the moment, provided by the clerk of the school board. The school board clerk will ascertain the speakers indicate their role as stakeholders and valid addresses. Speakers are called the order in which they signed up. If time allows, the chair may allow comments from individuals who have not signed up. The speaker may not speak more than once on a specific topic. If the speaker would like to present written comments, the school board copy should be provided to the school board clerk. With that having been said, I think we have two folks who have signed up tonight. So Catherine Kaufman.
Yes.
Good evening. My name is Catherine Kaufman, and I reside in Woodstock. My late husband, Milton, and I had a combined total of over 60 years proudly serving the students of Shenandoah County as public school educators. During the 56 years I have been a tax-paying resident of Shenandoah County, I have seen many dedicated school board members unselfishly serve our students. I realize that politics plays somewhat of a role in running a school system. However, I clearly recall Republicans, Democrats, independents, parents, and active community members putting aside their differences, problem solving, and reaching consensus, all in the best interest of our students. My fear is that you've allowed national politics and some of your personal agendas to trickle down into the running of our school system. A school system, which I should not have to remind you, is public. Like a beautiful quilt, the public is composed of our society's quilt patches, which include people of all races, ethnicities, religions, varying socioeconomic backgrounds, and gender identifications. Please get busy patching up the pieces of the Shenandoah County Public Schools quilt that some of you are selfishly tearing apart. Thank you.
Thank you. Charles Street.
Good evening. I hope everyone is well. Elected school board members, Superintendent Dr. Melody Shepard, thank you for allowing me to speak tonight. First, I'd like to congratulate all the spring season players and teams that in our postseason play. Also to all the people and teams that are competing at national level, good luck. Second, I would like to ask for a moment of silence for Bob Biller and his family, who passed away Saturday, July 6th at the age of 90. Thank you. Bob Biller was one of the main pillars of Stonewall Jackson High School Booster Club back in the 80s and continued on for many decades later. Bob was instrumental in starting the baseball program at Stonewall in 1982. Bob and my father were also pushing to get the wrestling program started shortly thereafter. Bob, along with all the other Booster Club members, contributed so much to the Southern campus, such as weight room building, music building, and along with many other projects. Bob's hard work and dedication to Stonewall Jackson High School will always be remembered and forevermore cherished in his legacy in the community. And lastly, there are a group of 4 young ladies that frequently meet for lunch that were part of the same Booster Club. 2 of them graduated in the class of 1985. There were 11 children who graduated from Stonewall, 12 grandchildren who graduated from Stonewall, and 3 that are yet to graduate from Stonewall. People like these, along with many others, were and still are the backbone of the Southern campus. And I'd like to add, my good friend Steve Heisman couldn't be here for certain reasons, and he wanted me to say a brief message here. He said, congratulations to Christian Dellinger in his 4th place finish in a national competition of electricity recently in Atlanta, Georgia. Christian represents Triple Tech and Shenandoah County school systems very well at the national level. Christian is the son of Wes and Rhonda Dellinger. Also, congratulations to all the county FFA members who recently competed in a state competition at Blacksburg and will probably go on to national. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Now, there were 2 speakers. Is there anybody else who would like to speak this evening? Okay. We're going to move on to the consent agenda. So I have a motion to approve the following consent agenda items listed under consent agenda 3.
I move to approve the following consent agenda items.
A lot of MOUs in that one. Do we have a second?
Second.
Any discussion? Those in favor of accepting the consent agenda as it has been presented, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? All right. And we're going to move into the information agenda. Angie, I see you coming up here, so I know we're going to talk about the budget.
Yeah, I'm just going to hang out here for just a few minutes. All right, the first item that I have is the Massanutten Regional Governor's Schools. So Shenandoah County Public Schools serves as the fiscal agent for the Regional Governor's School programs. And Massanutten Regional Governor's School has a separate board, and it approves its budget based on the anticipated state revenues and enrollment from the 4 participating divisions. The board voted on their budget late in May. They adopted a budget of $759,857. This is $81,866 more than what our board approved in April. So I'm presenting this information to request the increase to align our budget with the budget that they approved, and it will be placed on your August agenda for action. Any questions? Okay.
This, so you're going to tell us where that $81,000 came from, right?
Well, they just vote on it, but it's based on their enrollment numbers from the division.
Yeah, but it's not going to be sourced from over and above our budget. It's state
It's
money. as I
state
understand
money and
Okay.
tuitions.
I just wanted to make sure that we just don't let people creep above the budget. Thank you. Okay.
I was wondering the same thing.
Yeah. No, not from us.
Okay. All right.
Next item.
Mm-hmm.
Shenandoah County Public Schools also serves as fiscal agent for the Regional Governor's School program, the Blue Ridge Governor's School, and has received an additional $2,634 to support the summer operational expenses of these programs. This is in addition to what was approved during the normal budget process and is due to the appropriation of funds by the General Assembly to support the summer regional governors programs. So this will also be placed on the agenda for action. And again, it's state funding.
Tonight. Mm-hmm. Okay.
All right, next. This is what happens at the beginning of a fiscal year.
Yeah.
All right, the VDOE notified SCPS that funds became available from the 2022 School Security Equipment Grant and are being reallocated to eligible divisions. SCPS will be receiving an additional $5,076.63 in reallocated 2022 grant funding. This grant does require a 25% local match, and this equates to $1,269.16, which will be covered by the operations and maintenance budget. No funds will be requested from the county for this project. These funds are approved for the purchase and installation of school security equipment at Signal Knob Middle School, and the total amount of the grant, including the local match, is $6,997.25. These funds must be spent and the reimbursement submitted by October 25th of 2024, and therefore this item will be on action later this evening.
What is being done at Signal Knob?
It's security cameras.
Okay, thank you.
All right, next. On July 1st, 2024, Shenandoah County Public Schools was informed that Laurel Ridge Community College received a grant from the Claude Moore Foundation, which was established to enhance opportunities throughout the Commonwealth of Virginia, particularly among high schools and community college health science platforms. Laurel Ridge invited its regional public school partners to apply for part of the funds to enhance science programs. Requests were made and SCPS was awarded a total of $47,081.90 of the total grant. These funds will be used to purchase a human muscular figure for health and medical courses, an elite ECG Stryker Lucas 3.1 training unit, and Stryker chair for the EMT program, all of which will enhance the learning experience for our students. This will be on your August agenda for action. Any questions? All right, moving right along. The last one's a little bit different. In FY23, the budget included $2,310,240 in state school construction grant funds. These funds were restricted for certain purposes to include school construction, additions, renovations, site acquisition, school safety equipment, or school safety renovations. The General Assembly provided that any unspent funds awarded to school divisions shall be carried forward and appropriated to school divisions by the local governing body. Further, the funds pursuant to Virginia Code 22.1-175.5 shall be carried on the books of the locality in a local escrow account for the use by the school division for the same purpose. Additionally, all income attributable to that account, meaning interest, were to be deemed public funds and expended in accordance with the same terms of that grant. In FY 2024, the escrow account earned $108,291.81 in interest. This needs to be appropriated to offset the construction costs of the elementary security vestibules, and those expenditures happened in 2024. So we're finalizing the FY 2024 budget right now, and so this will be on your agenda for action this evening. Any questions on that?
Once those vestibules are paid for, will there be any money that's going to be carried over?
Absolutely none.
Thank you.
Thanks, Andy, appreciate it.
Thank you.
4.6, the flag and decor policy. Dr. Shepherd.
Thank you. At the June 13th, 2024 school board meeting, a school board member requested adding an agenda item to discuss a flag and decor policy. At the June 24th school board meeting, school board member Carlinio proposed a draft policy which was subsequently discussed by the school board. The recommendation is for the school board to discuss and approve the flag policy, flag and decor policy at this evening's meeting. This would be an opportunity to discuss any changes to the policy that you would like to see for it to be voted on later this evening.
And there will be time for discussion when the motion is made for action under action items, which comes pretty soon.
We're going to be voting on the flag policy tonight.
Correct.
So we'll discuss it later and then vote.
Thank you.
And the cell phone policy. Dr. Heingartner.
Good evening, everyone. I want to just share a little bit with regards to your request about cell phone policy. As you've probably come to know, absolutely positively everything that happens in the school division isn't in a policy manual, okay? That would be virtually impossible. The cell phone historically is one of those things. All right, so I'll kind of tell you what we have and then see where you want to go. If you look at IIDEA-GAB, that policy simply has one reference to telephones in it. It's a very general policy that incorporates a lot of different things with regards to the acceptable computer use and the acceptable use of electronic devices in school. And so phones fall under that, along with many other things. So that's the closest thing that we've had in the past to having policy about cell phones. Now, that doesn't mean, though, that we don't have written requirements or regulations in other places. And so the example of that is in the student-parent handbook on page 67. And this, of course, is online, and we're updating it now. The newer version will be out before long, but the last year's version is still there. But on page 67, what we do have as practice, okay, is that cell phones and other electronic communication devices must be off and out of sight during instructional class time unless the teacher has given the students permission to use them. All right. So that's been the historic guidance that the school division has given, and oversight of cell phones has been an administrative task, obviously. So the other thing, I don't want to get too far ahead of myself. The other thing that I gave you is just some research that I tried to dig up and give you some samples of cell phone policies that I found and tried to massage a little bit to see if you could see several different examples. Now, since that time, since this went up, the governor came out with his information just the other day. So that's historically what we've done. You can see what we have. We don't have a standalone cell phone policy, okay? It's integrated in other documents that we have. And now we have the guidance from the governor. The one thing that I want to give you to think about, that if you want us to do something with cell phones that's different than what we've done in the past, we've got 32 days until school starts. And this would be a very important thing to have a solid implementation plan and a solid communication plan about, so that we're all on the same page before school starts. It's very difficult to implement something of this nature once the ball's rolling. So I just want to give you that to chew on a little bit as you think about where you might go with regards to a cell phone policy.
If memory serves me correctly, didn't we tighten up the use of cell phone use
We did.
about a year ago at regulations?
We
Not
did.
policy, but regulations.
That's right, and that's right. We even sent something out across the county to all students and their parents about the enforcement of cell phones in school. And that would be becoming more of the norm, where it may have been lax at some point in time, that we were tightening that up, and that, that phones weren't to be out, weren't to be abused, that sort of thing. But the reality of it is, what we have in writing really opens the door for interpretation. It opens the door for outside of class instructional time, that hallway time between classes, is that, obviously during lunch, is it, before school and after school in the hallways, those kind of things. I think our administrators would say this is a nightmare for them to manage. I'm just going to tell you that. However, I think they would also say it is a huge benefit for after-school activities and managing communication changes of things. So it's a big benefit when it's appropriate. But during the school day, during the school hours of instructional hours, it is a management nightmare for school administrators and teachers. And there's no question about it.
You mean as we speak?
That's
Current,
correct, yes.
yeah.
Yes, sir.
And I'll turn it over because I know we have some questions as a board, but one last question. Have you, I don't want to put you on the spot, have you seen any discernible differences that you feel from the administrators about the tightening up? Have they seen any effect at all? What do you think?
I will tell you, it's like a lot of things that aren't absolutes with regards to policy. Some places, we've seen an absolute, no question about it, change. Other places,
Okay.
some not. I'll tell you, high schools are the hardest to manage on this. But it's doable. It's doable. But it takes, right from the get-go, this is the way it is, and it's followed through on.
Okay.
But the reality of it is, it's hard. It's a very difficult thing to manage.
So I have one, actually piggybacking on that question, is have we had any of our schools that go beyond what we already have in terms of the policy? And also, what are those schools that have seen more of a benefit doing that the other ones are not?
Well, going beyond, yeah, I would say we do. We have at least one school that I would say has gone beyond the classroom instruction component and have said you can't have your cell phone out. They haven't said you can't have it on your person yet. Well, actually, yes, they have. They said it has to be in your book bag. And I'll be very honest with you. At that particular school, it was established at the beginning. It was some challenges in the beginning, but the administrative team held firm to it. They weren't ugly or disrespectful to people about it. They just said, this is the way it's going to be. And as a matter of fact, we used that example today as one teacher who happened to run into a student in the hallway who was on their phone. It wasn't an ugly interaction. It wasn't a conflict. The teacher simply held out their hand. The student put the phone in their hand, and the teacher said, you can pick it up in the office at the end of the day. There wasn't a big brouhaha about it, because the student knew the expectation. They knew they weren't supposed to be doing it. They didn't argue about it. But that has to be established and followed through with and supported from the get-go, or it's like a snowball rolling down a hill. At some point in time, you just can't control it anymore.
Especially if you have different schools following different policies. So.
Was that school at the northern end of the county?
And there's probably others that are doing something as close to that. I just hadn't heard about it.
If you've read the instruction from the governor's office, they're planning to have something later in the fall.
Yes.
But they also encourage any who are thinking about doing it to lean forward. And so I take your point that if we want to do something now, it could be something that could be improved further after the governor's guidelines came out, or it could be used as kind of a straw man for the governors as they're developing theirs, because we've been asked for our input on that too. So it's certainly something that's at the leading edge.
Yes, and yeah, that was kind of my dilemma when I read that.
Yeah.
Starting in January is much easier than starting in, say, October, because there's a delineation of the school year and there's a separation for a little bit of time, but it's still mid-year, and mid-year is really tough once you start school to try and change behavior. It's really hard. Not that it can't be done, but it's just, it's difficult.
So I just handed out the governor's executive order number 33, which you referenced, Chairman Barlow.
It's code language. It looks like good guidance, but again, it's a decision we'll have to make as to what our position is going forward.
One thing I would suggest too is, and obviously I'm not in no way, shape, or form, please don't take this the wrong way. I'm not trying to tell you this is what you want, but I would really like to hear from the principals on something that you might come up with, because they have such deeper background knowledge and understanding of handling this on a day-to-day basis, boots on the ground right there dealing with students and their cell phones. So getting their feedback and getting some of their input would probably not be a bad idea. I mean, they're gonna do whatever you tell them to do,
And
but it might not be a bad.
I think we could take a bunch of these kind of not philosophical, but these data-driven concepts and bounce it against them for a reality check.
Mhm.
Because there's a lot of data coming in now, like how many notifications that kids are getting per class.
Yes,
And the
yes.
indications are there's like 44 notifications a class
That's right.
going on, and earbuds. And so there's all kind of stuff we need to bounce it against the reality of
Yeah.
Central High School,
Right.
and find out, how that plays.
Mhm. I agree.
But we have to do it quickly.
Yeah.
Do you think we could set up a meeting before the next meeting so that we can speak to the principals?
Sure.
By the time we have the next meeting, it's right before school starts.
Yeah.
I've talked to several kids about this, and they brought up some valid points that Dr. Shepard and I discussed. One of them was how slow the Chromebook is sometimes when they're trying to get information. Another student from the high school level, she brought up the fact that due to our firewall, there are certain things they might need to research that they can't access through the firewall due to a certain word in the search. So I think those are things to keep in mind, but at the same time, I know about the school that has the no cell phone policy, and that seems to work pretty well. So I'm torn on it.
Well, obviously, I don't know how you debate this. It's got to be, for cell phones in classrooms, it has to be a distraction. I don't know how you debate that. Come on. But this has been I've seen this twice on national news as far as a topic, and the outcome of other school divisions, what they've done to deal with this matter, and the outcome is it did improve things in the classroom.
That's what I've seen too.
So, this is definitely something that I feel that we need to look at and view from all angles, but at the same time, we got to keep it from being a distraction in the classroom.
Well, I think it goes beyond that too. It's not just in the classroom, but also, and I don't know if we're really having that problem here, but a lot of the bullying or a lot of the things that happen in other school districts, we don't want them happening here. So I know a lot of it happens because of the cell phones.
Well, and to that end, and I know someone who presented recently made this point, and I think it's very valid. When we were in school, we were able to get away at the end of the day. Students with cell phones do not escape ever getting away from some ugliness. It's just with them all the time, and it's very sad, but that's a reality.
With us not having a work session this month, any recommendation on getting some movement on this to be
I could
expeditious?
certainly take something that you all might think is close and bring your administrators together relatively quickly and get their feedback, or at least get some points for, please have the board consider these points or whatever. We could do that relatively quickly, and that way you'd have that information to craft something around if you want.
I like that.
Dr. Heinberg,
Thank
thank you very
you.
much. Appreciate it.
Sure.
Thanks.
Going to move into the action items. So we have the personnel list has been presented to us, and I need a motion to approve that personnel list as has been presented.
I move to approve the personnel list as presented.
Thank you, Mr. Gutschall. Second?
Second.
Second by Mr. Street. All those in favor of approving the personnel list as was presented, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? So, we have a revised policy update. We have been working on these for a couple of months, and thanks to the good offices of the central staff, I think each of the policies have now been modified that were requested for modification. So I think we're at the point where we want to move to accept the entire batch as they've been modified. Has everybody had a chance to peruse those over the last couple of months? Are we ready to vote?
I move to approve the revised policy updates as presented.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Rickard, for that motion. Do we have a second?
Second.
Second by Mrs. Carlinio. All those in favor of approving the revised policy updates, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? None? School calendars. What could be controversial about that? Do we have a motion to approve the school calendars for 2025 to 26, 2026 to 27, and 27-28 school years?
I move to approve the school calendars for the 25-26, 2026-2027, and 2027-2028 school years as presented.
Thank you, Mr. Rickard. Is there a second to that motion?
Second.
Thank you, Mrs. Carlinio. All those in favor of accepting the school calendars, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? We have, we have had a report the last couple of months on the library book materials. The list for fall 2024 purchase has been available to us for a couple of months now, and so we've had a chance to look at those. And I'm ready to entertain a motion to accept the library book materials purchase list as has been presented.
I move to approve the fall 2024 library book material purchase list as presented.
Thank you, Mr. Gutschall. Any second?
Second.
All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right. So library book materials purchase. And now there's the action item is to adopt the flag and decor policy as has been presented. So we had this presentation the last meeting, at least the concept. Does anybody move to accept the flag and decor and displays policy?
I move to adopt the flag and decor policy as presented.
Is there a second?
Second.
So we have the motion made by Mr. Rickard, seconded by Mrs. Carlinio. Discussion.
If I can just say a few words. And I don't think we really need to discuss a lot of what it's on the policy because we've already kind of gone through that. But I know there has been a few concerns that have been raised, and I mean, I'll be honest, I wish that we didn't have to be even considering this policy, but unfortunately we live in times that we have to consider this. And the truth of the matter is, I believe that 99% of our teachers have absolutely no need for this policy, and they have common sense that they know what should be on the walls and what's appropriate in the classroom, but there's always a few. And somebody actually asked me, and yes, I have personally witnessed that, that do kind of require us to have a tighter policy on this so we will not have problems in the future. You know, our school's purpose is to educate our children, and we definitely should be looking out for any instances where there's any kind of indoctrination. And unfortunately, the education system in our country has shifted its focus over the past few decades towards more brainwashing and indoctrinating our children rather than educating them. And if you don't believe me, just listen to what the president of the National Education Association, the NEA, which is the nation's largest, the nation's largest teachers union, just said this past weekend. when she called for transformative social justice change in the education system in the pursuit of equity. And I'm going to quote what she said, that the NEA's goal is to unite not just its members, but the nation to reclaim public education as a common good, as the foundation of our democracy, and then transform it into something it was never designed to be, a racially and socially just and equitable system. By the way, that's propaganda code for leftist socialist indoctrination. So this focus on indoctrination rather than education is reflected not just in our national scores, where the U.S. has been in a constant decline over the years, but also in how unprepared too many of our young people are to confront their futures today. So our classrooms should be free of any kind of social pressures and political ideology and propaganda. I can tell you in 1989, I attended a summer study abroad in the Soviet Union, when it was still the Soviet Union, and I got to see firsthand how this propaganda works. It wasn't about the Soviet flag. No, it was mostly about having their slogans and posters of Lenin and other Soviet leaders plastered all over the city, everywhere you went. You just couldn't escape it. So today, we see that in our country, where the propaganda is spewed by the mainstream media, social media, Hollywood entertainers, and commercial stores. So while it may be hard to escape in our daily lives, our children should be able to escape it in the classroom, where they should be learning the fundamentals of education and not the latest social justice cause. Now, I'm gonna be very honest. I'm not a fan of too many decorations in the classroom. I just think they're very distracting. I can understand how you would do that for a specific purpose. Like, for example, when I was in 10th grade, our English teacher decorated the whole entire school with posters of Big Brother is watching you in anticipation of us reading 1984. And I thought that was brilliant. It was very effective and it directly related to what we were going to be studying. But I can remember entering some of the classrooms for my children when they were in school and made me wonder how in the world they would not get distracted with all the decorations. That's just my opinion. Growing up in Puerto Rico, we received an amazing education, and the classrooms were very Spartan. They had simple student desks, they had a desk and a chair for the teacher, and blackboards. On special occasions like Christmas, Easter, or a classroom party, there may have been like a few cardboard cutouts, taped to the concrete walls, and that was about it. So our teacher never put any pictures of themselves or their families or anything that didn't relate to what we were learning. In fact, most of us didn't know anything personal about our teachers. We didn't know anything if they were married, if they had kids, their religion, their political affiliation, much less their sexual preference. And despite all this, we were still able to form very lasting bonds with our teachers that were based on respect that we had for them. They taught, we listened, and we learned. So personally, I don't believe that we should, I don't believe very much in having all these decorations in a classroom. However, what we need to kind of emphasize here is that what this policy expressly says is that we're targeting things that have to do with political viewpoints. So we're not targeting any personal photographs that the teacher may have. So in my opinion, we should be able to teach our kids without forcing any ideological or political inspired ideas on a child, and this is what we should be concerned about and exactly what this policy is going to be doing.
Other comments? Mr. Rickard?
I did receive one email from one of our teachers, and she was a little concerned with it. I got to admit, she kind of struck a nerve with me because she mentioned she was a Dallas Cowboy fan, and being a Dallas Cowboy fan myself, I was like, man, okay, she was worried about being able to display stuff like that. I got to speak from personal experience. 3 years ago when my son was at the middle school, him and some of his fellow team members from the football team were frustrated because they couldn't figure out which way a teacher leaned or which way they voted in the most recent election at that time. Speaking with him, I grew a liking to this teacher even though I didn't know the teacher's political leanings at that time. Just because it wasn't known to the people in the class, which is the way it was back in the 80s when I was in high school. We didn't know our teachers' political leanings. They came to school, they taught us, they educated us, and that was it. So I came to like and respect this teacher the more I heard. So I asked my son and his fellow teammates, I said, what is the big issue? And there were multiple of them. They all looked at me and said, look, we can go into any classroom in the middle school, the high school, wherever, and we can tell which way that teacher voted in the most recent election based on the things we see on the walls in the classroom. And that really struck a nerve with me, because I was like, man, it wasn't like that when we were in school. It wasn't known. So while I don't feel very good that we have to go this direction, I understand it. And I thank you, Ms. Carlenio, for writing this policy. I think it's a good policy. It's a shame we've got to go to this extreme, whereas common sense should play a factor, what you decorate your classroom with. That being said, that's all I've got.
Anybody else?
Is it, I can't quite remember, is it just in the classroom or on the school facility?
The school facility.
Okay, I have something to say. I'm in favor of this because I do not believe I believe that teachers need to be objective, and they need to display objectivity. And the idea of propagandizing, if you want to call it that, or even just indicating, as you suggest, Mr. Rickard, just a political party or whatever is, I think, destroys that concept of objectivity that I think has to be the hallmark of a good classroom. And so, once again, I think your point that this public display of political or social affiliations really is not healthy in the classroom environment. And so, I'm in favor of this policy. Anybody else?
I'll go over.
Go ahead.
I think, to me, it's just kind of black and white. You know, we need to limit distractions in the classrooms to the best of our ability. I think this policy is fair in the sense that I think I emailed with the one teacher that reached out to us, and I said that we'll use the same treatment of a Biden flag versus a Trump flag or whatever. That's just an example, but it has to be utilized fair, and I think we can limit distractions because there have been instances in the past where distractions have arose from different things like this. So for me, it's just kind of that, and that's kind of all I feel about it.
Right, I think we're ready to. We had a second, right?
Yes.
We had to. Okay, good. So I think we're ready to move the question here. All those in favor of adopting the flag and decor policy as has been presented, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? None? Action item 5.6, the request to increase the fiscal year 2025 special budget. This was for the $50,000 grant, and it has to be encumbered by September 30th. And so I think we need to take action on this. Can I have a motion to approve this request?
I move to approve the request to increase the fiscal year 2025 special budget in the amount of $97,306.96.
Thank you, Mr. Cutshall. Second?
Second.
I heard Mrs. Carlenio second. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye. No opposed? 5.7, we have a request to increase the 2025 special budget by $5,076.63. and fund the local match requirement of $1,269 with the existing operating budget. So I have a motion to that effect.
I move to approve the request to increase the fiscal year 2025 special budget by $5,076.63 and fund the local match requirement of $1,269.16 with the existing operating budget.
Thank you, Mr. Rickard. A second?
Second.
Mr. Goodchild, I heard you, so you seconded this. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? None? And the final action item is the 5.8 to appropriate the 2024 interest income from the school construction grant funds. And this would be in the amount of $108,291 to be used to offset the construction costs of the security vestibules. Do I have a motion to that effect?
I move to increase the fiscal year 2024 special budget to appropriate the interest earned in the amount of $108,291.81 to be used to offset the construction cost of the security vestibules in the same year.
Second?
Second.
Second by Mr. Street. All those in favor of a special budget to appropriate the interest earned for the security vestibules, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? None? And that brings us to the superintendent's monthly report.
Thank you. I would like to congratulate our career and technical education student organizations. Many of the student organizations competed over the last month, and we will recognize those students as they are available over the next few school board meetings. On Friday, June 14th, the Shenandoah Community Foundation, on behalf of the Bowman Shannon Cultural Arts Fund, presented a generous donation of $150,000 to Shenandoah County Public Schools. This significant contribution is earmarked for upgrading audio-visual equipment across all 3 high schools. The funds will specifically be used to enhance the sound systems in the auxiliary gyms, which are frequently used for theater and music performances. I would also like to congratulate Dr. Anne-Marie Noonan, principal at North Fork Middle School, for receiving her doctoral degree from Shenandoah University at the end of June. As a reminder, this next school board meeting is Wednesday, August the 7th. We moved the meeting from Thursday to Wednesday because open house is on Thursday. New teachers will arrive at Shenandoah County Public Schools on August the 1st. Staff will return on Monday, August the 5th. If they elect to work the 5th as a flex day, or Tuesday, August the 6th. And then school starts on Tuesday, August the 13th. I hope everyone is having a great summer, and I'm looking forward to seeing our students in 32 days. Woohoo. That's all I have. I'm happy to answer any questions.
Are there any questions for the superintendent? Okay. School board members, do you have any comments? Mr. Rickard.
First off, I would like to congratulate Signal 9 Middle School and Dakota Stroud for being selected the #1 junior FFA chapter in Virginia for the 2nd year in a row. I'd also like to extend a huge thank you and show my appreciation to all the FFA teachers we have in Shenandoah County. They go above and beyond with their students, going well into summer. I'd also like to congratulate Christian Dellinger on getting 4th in the nation for electrical. Also, young man, if you're ever looking for a job, definitely reach out to me. The other thing was I reached out to SBMA, School Board Member Alliance, about my last comments when we left VSBA. And she got back to me about some trainings. So something I'd like for us to look at is either a half day or whole day professional development training to include Dr. Shepard in that. That way we could have more of a meet and greet and get some of our education out of the way as well. The other thing was Tom and I went down and met with Todd Lynn at Triplet Tech, and I gotta say, they're doing a heck of a job down there. It was unbelievable to hear the numbers and the numbers they had to turn away. That was kind of heartbreaking to hear, the number of kids that want to get into continuing education down there and technical training, and to have to turn some of the kids away. I mean, when you look at Christian Dellinger going out there and competing with the whole entire nation, I think there was 53 competitors, and he came in 4th in the nation. We've got big things happening in Shenandoah County. Kids that are graduating high school and walking right into great paying careers based on things they've learned down at Triplet Tech. We need to look at whatever we've got to do to expand that program, renovate the school, build new, whatever. Because let's face it, not all of our kids are going away to 4-year schools after graduation. And like Todd kept reiterating to Tom and I, was it was a nice problem to have, having the number of teachers or the number of students and filling the school year after year and seeing it grow. Whatever we've got to do, we need to be looking at that. Other than that, that's all I've got.
Yes, so I have some remarks, but I also have a thank you to CREW, which is the Community Resources for Education and Wellness, and Dr. Shepard for conducting our mental health task force meeting this last Wednesday. It was lightly attended, well, not that lightly attended. We had 20-something people, so for summer it's not too bad. But and I want to also thank Sherman Barlow for being there as well. And I also have some update that I wanted to provide regarding the Title IX and some of the things that have been happening lately as it relates to our gender identity policy. As I had predicted on June 17th, in the case of the state of Tennessee versus Cardona, a federal judge held that the Biden administration's radical and unlawful rewriting of the Title IX to include gender identity was unconstitutional, and stopped Biden's new Title IX regulations from going into effect here in Virginia, because we were part of that lawsuit, as well as Tennessee, Ohio, Kentucky, West Virginia, and Indiana. And that is welcome news, as we had otherwise had to start implementing these rules in August. And to help understand this legal ruling, I would like to quote 2 things that the judge wrote in his opinion. First, the judge stated that the Biden administration was trying to, quote, turn Title IX on its head by redefining sex to include gender identity, and that's the quote. And that was my argument all along during the policy debate, and it proves that those arguing this, including our certain attorneys, were wrong in that quote. Second, the judge found that there are serious First Amendment implications if the Biden administration required educators to use pronouns consistent with the students' purported gender identity rather than their biological sex. That's a quote. So, contrary to our current school board policy, there is no need to use pronouns that are inconsistent with the student's biological sex if a parent writes a note to the school for any other reason. In fact, we're violating the First Amendment if we can accommodate such a pronoun request at all. So that's something that we have to reconsider in the future. I should also point out that 2 other federal judges came to the same conclusion at about the same time and for similar reasons. The first was in the case of the state of Louisiana versus the U.S. Department of Education, where the judge halted the implementation of Biden's new Title IX in Louisiana, Mississippi, Montana, and Idaho. And the second was just last week in the state of Kansas versus the U.S. Department of Education, whereby Kansas, Alaska, Utah, and Wyoming joined the ranks of states where these new rules will not apply. So in sum, all this means that Title IX was never a barrier to our gender policy draft that I proposed, and that the policy will ultimately pass accommodated gender identity more than it should have. So I look forward to rectifying this sometime in the future.
My turn?
If you want.
All right. I'll keep it short and sweet. Again, congratulations to all the students that competed here recently, but I want to also just kind of follow up, same thing Mike said. Christian Dellinger, congratulations to him, competing, placing 4th in the nation down in Atlanta. Also with the Triplet Tech, we met with Todd Lynn and Jamie Armentrout, and this, how do I say this? Ever since Colonel Barlow has put me in charge of that committee, it has, I admit, it's been an eye-opening for me with Triplet Tech and the importance of that school and what comes out of that and what can be the investment and the return that we can have here, hopefully in Shenandoah County, but let's be real, here in the Shenandoah Valley outside of the county. But anyway, so there's great things there at that school. The administration there, like I said, Todd Lynn, Jamie Armentrout, doing a phenomenal job in our meeting there and the needs. The problem is the future. So I don't have the answers. We don't have the answers, but I'm looking forward to meeting with administration and Dr. Shepard, Board of Supervisors are going to have to really, it's going to come through them. The financial part of figuring out what we need to do there, what we can do, and how to do it. So there's some interesting things there in the future. Anyway, with that, looking back on half of the school year, been on the school board for 6 months, and I do want to point out, Dr. Shepard, I think you do a great job, and I'm very impressed, and good job in the school system that you run. Anyway, I think that's all. I think it's pretty safe to say, Mr. Bowman, I think this is the second meeting that you've probably been kind of bored.
I have to work myself up.
Anyway, that's all I
I
have.
violated policy before it was passed.
Yeah, there are we getting better, huh?
Yeah. But no, y'all did fine. Well done.
That's a good thing.
Looking forward to our new staff members. I know we had some new administrators this year, so looking forward to getting those folks kind of integrated into the culture. Some from here, some not, but definitely looking forward to the next school year. I think the cell phone policy could be useful if we can. I know the governor released his executive order surrounding that. If we can do it correctly without, I guess, overdoing it, I think would be a wise way. But I know there's other school systems that are adopting similar policies around the Commonwealth. I think the big thing is we just need uniformity among the school system. And if we have 2 schools doing it one way and we have 7 doing it the other way, or 8, it makes it difficult to actually have an expectation, especially if you go to Triplet and then you go to Central half the day or whatever it may be, Strasburg. So definitely something that we could use, but I think we have to make sure we craft it properly.
Yeah, I forgot one thing I wanted to also kind of mention. Speaking on improvements, one other thing I think we have to tackle, and I just want to be open about this in the future, and here again I don't have the answers, but we need to address it. And here recently visiting our referred to as the school bus garage, not just them, but there's other departments, I understand that, but this heat, they're working in this heat, and I commend them for the great job that they do and the conditions that they're under. But there's another facility that here again I don't have the answers, but we're going to have to tackle that animal here sometime soon, that we're going to have to figure out how to the accommodations. School, as you can take anything, any business, you can take any business, and the conditions are not the same back in 1968 that they are in today's world. Everything is, I guess the term bigger, and so I just want to point that out, that the school bus garage, the personnel there, they're doing a great job for what they have to work with, but we need to tackle that here in the future and figure out how to improve that facility. So
I'd like to lead with, it's interesting, the past couple of months, we've been hammered by a certain segment of society that says we've been chasing some sort of phantom by working on the restoration of the names for the schools. And why don't we get back to education? Why don't we get back to those things that matter? And the interesting thing is, we are. This school board has taken upon itself to create a very viable, very dynamic committee system, which is basically moribund until this group came along. And the initiatives that have been taken in terms of CTE, in terms of mental health, in terms of rooting out kind of retribution in the schools, in caring about the professional manner in which people are treated, in raising academic standards, have all been things that people on this board have done on their own initiative. And I'm very proud of this board for having taken those things on. So, and we're seeing the upturn that was promised 2 years ago already in terms of attendance, in terms of academic achievement, and I think we're gonna see that continue to rise. And not trying to claim that's the school board's credit directly, and yet the Bible tells us where there is no vision, the people perish. So if there's no vision, there's no place for the operators to carry it out. And so the school system, I think, is firing on all. I was going to date myself and say 8 cylinders. Maybe I say 6 or 4. I'm not sure anymore. Anyway, but anyway, so we have been at it, and we're proud of it. Now, having said that, we dumped the VSBA. That doesn't mean that we can just say that's done. We have to take upon ourselves, as Mr. Rickard indicated, policy and other items such as trainings that aren't going to happen by themselves, and that's on us as a school board to do that, and not to expect the school system to come up with that stuff, because I think David Heingartner's people are working hard enough without us having them create another policy support mechanism. So we're going to try to be there for you, Dave, and not foist that on you for sure. And in that regard, if we have ideas about the cell phone, let's actually funnel those. Let me talk to Dr. Heingartner about the best way to get those ideas to him, so he just doesn't get a bunch of stuff or nothing, and then it comes in such a way that we can actually design something, and you don't have to cobble together a bunch of stuff that you have to go out and research, but we actually develop it for you. So I'm kind of excited to hear about CTE and the vision you have for it, Tom, because I think that's one of the things that the superintendent has as one of her key goals, and this county, the way I look at it, is kind of made for CTE to do a big takeoff. So those are the things that I'm thinking about. That's about all I have. Does anybody have a motion that we adjourn?
I move to adjourn.
Thank you, Mr. Gupshaw. Second?
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Meeting adjourned at 9:05.